Sal Hanvey is available to speak to us about an issue which we were talking about at the very beginning of the programme. Are you on the pill? Why are so many women opting out? Sal is a leading nutritionist, and more young women are indeed deciding against taking a contraceptive pill, or indeed are stopping the usage altogether because of the side effects. This comes and goes in the news quite a bit, Sal. I've been hearing this since I was a teenager about whether or not the pill is bad for females. What's the latest on that, Sal?
Yeah, I think just more and more people are going on social media talking about these things, really, voicing their own journeys, their own stories, their own, really their problems with it, the symptoms that they're experiencing. And really, I suppose it's a platform for people to share their experiences. So, it's more prevalent. I mean, I've been obviously addressing it and dealing with it in my clinic for a number of years now, with people who are on the pill, want to come off the pill, maybe want to conceive, different reasons as to why they're maybe on it. Could be a number of different issues, health issues, not just contraception for contraception's sake. And I suppose from that point of view, I think that's maybe why people are becoming a little bit more, aware of it, to the point where it's something that they don't necessarily want to be on, or they feel like they have to be on it for a number of reasons. It's very complex, and it is something that people are becoming a little bit more savvy about and saying no to. Yeah,
there was always this, I suppose, claim from women down through the decades that if men had to take the pill, they wouldn't take it, whereas women almost felt obliged to take it. Now, there are alternatives, but the downside is that if someone doesn't take steps, they're going to have unwanted pregnancies.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a conversation, again, I've had for years with both men and women, and men have said things like, well, I wouldn't remember to take it, or not always, just, they don't want to be too general, but as an overall kind of consensus from the people I've discussed it with, clients, friends, colleagues, and so on, it's very much a case of, I wouldn't remember to take that. I'm sure there's many people who are listening today, their partners, men, might be on vitamins, but they maybe forget to take them, and maybe the women have to set them out for the men to take even the vitamins or even the medications, often the case. And I think it comes down to the fundamental basis of women have periods, they've got cycles, they're tracking things, they might be conceiving, carrying babies. There's so much onus put on the responsibility of the woman to achieve and to deliver all of these different things. And I think sometimes that means that when it comes to men having to offset some of the burden on, say, a contraceptive pill, it's just seen as absolute nonsense.
And what are the downsides to taking the pill on a daily basis? What negative effect is there?
A lot of people have come to me experiencing anxiety. Also, it's funny how it's used specifically for people who've got skin conditions, yet I had a client once come to me who had been on the pill for so long, and then she'd never had skin issues before the pill. When she was on it, she took it for contraception, and I think she was around 27. She started getting really extreme sebaceous acne all over her face. She went to the doctor. The doctor said, I think the pill's just not agreeing with you anymore. Let's swap you to another pill. She swapped to another pill, and immediately her skin cleared up. In one regard, she was very relieved, and in another regard, she was properly horrified by how much the impact of the pill had changed the skin constitution. So from that point of view, it just shows you the power behind it to actually help fix skin, in inverted commas, or whatever. But there are people who are coming with weight gain, bloating, fluid retention, digestive complaints, anxiety, sleep problems. It's endless, Frank.
So what would you suggest to women who come to you and who feel that they have a negative story to tell you about contraception?
I suppose it depends why they're on it. Are they on it for contraception? At which point it's not my place to advocate some change for them if they are taking it for contraceptive means. It's my job to educate other potential things that they might be able to do in order to help. But if they're coming for things like skin or anxiety or digestion, for example, then I will try and help them through my acupuncture and my nutrition work in order to get to the bottom of it. But if you're actually taking it for contraception, there's no real nutrition advice that I can give that you can just come off your pill and have some nutrition advice and you won't conceive.
Yes, but are you, because this is news to me. I didn't know that you would be prescribed the pill for some way to improve your skin. Is that what you're suggesting?
That's exactly what's happening. It's not even what I'm suggesting at all. It's literally what's been happening for decades. Women are on very specific types of combined estrogens and progesterones to actually clear up skin issues. So it's used. See, if you think about it, if it's clearing up the skin issues, what's the underlying problem? The hormones. So address the cause, don't suppress the symptom.
But having said all of this, you're clear that you're not going to provide them with anything that's going to help them prevent a pregnancy.
Absolutely not. People come to me in order to try and help to conceive. So they're coming to me with maybe coming off the pill, wanting to start a family, or they're coming to me with very specific gynecological issues like endometriosis or PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, and they're wanting to conceive. They've maybe been on the pill for their 20s and now they regret it. And I say, well, you did it. It's done. We need to work with where we are rather than regret what you've done. You know, obviously you had it at that time. Some people get very regretful over taking it, but, you know, there's no point. It's done. So we need to move on and actually work with what we have. So, yeah, I mean, fertility is a big one. And often when people are faced with gynecological issues like really bad dysmenorrhea or menstruation cramp with endometriosis, for example, they're going to the doctor and the doctor's maybe saying, well, just go on the pill. But they're saying, well, I can't go on the pill because I'm trying to conceive. So it's that kind of like, do you go on the pill to help your symptoms, or do you come off the pill and try and conceive and deal with the symptoms? So there's so many different factors here.
But what do you say to a young woman who's deciding today that I'm going to start using the pill, haven't used it before?
Again, it depends on why they're using it.
Well, obviously, but I'm talking about contraception.
Well, first of all, it's their entire choice as to whether or not they want to do that. Sometimes people will come to me and say, look, I want to go on the pill, but it's just for contraception, you know, and then I'll just basically give them advice on, well, there's Mirena coil, which is a progesterone-based coil, then there's an ordinary copper coil, which has no medical intervention in the sense of pharmaceutical or hormonal-driven substitutes, and then obviously they will go to their family planning clinic in order to find out any other contraceptive means. It isn't really my job to either condemn or condone. It's the choice of the individual.
And it's very important that they liaise with whoever they trust from a medical perspective before they just go gung-ho and decide, I'm going to make this dramatic change in my lifestyle without giving any consideration to the impact it might have on me.
Well, absolutely, but you're saying a dramatic impact and change. The thing is that a lot of people were just put on the pill in their teens when the bad periods or bad spots. It wasn't even something that they even considered. I mean, it's funny how it's called the pill, but I often would ask my clients when they come in, what medication do you happen to be on? And they'll list maybe 2 or 3 or whatever medications they're on, or they'll say, no, I'm on nothing. And then maybe 20 minutes later, they'll say, oh, well, you see, the pill does this for me. And I'll say, but I thought you said you weren't on any medication. And I'd say, oh, well, yes, well, I did mean to mention the pill. And it's funny how it's the one that's called the pill, but yet they don't often consider it to be a pill. It's funny how the psychology behind it.
Absolutely. Yeah, they just don't consider it as a form of medication. Sal, interesting. If people want to talk to you more about that and have a genuine interest in it, how do they contact you via the web?
Yeah, it's just naturalhealthni.co.uk, naturalhealthni.co.uk.
Okay, Sal, thank you. Sal Hanvey with us here on the U105 phone in.